Hi, this is Kent Smith with A Plus Quality Pest Control here for the second video. I got some very good response from the first video about mice, so decided to do a second video, and this is going to be on spiders, which is relevant this time of year because they are around. They're usually in a cellar or they're in corners or wherever, but they are around this time of year, and so we decided to talk about that today. First of all, let me say that spiders are one of the most difficult pests to take care of, and I'll tell you why. It's because they have such small leg parts, and especially their feet area where they touch the ground. With that small little area that they touch, they usually will not get enough pesticide in them to kill them, a lot of these littler spiders. And the other way to treat for them is to actually, you have to treat their web, especially for the web building spiders. So you actually have to hit their web or hit themselves in order for it to be pertinent. About the only one that's really reacts well to an insecticide treatment is a wolf spider, because they touch the ground and they crawl around quite often. And they have bigger leg parts too, because they're a little bit more stout. So let's talk a little bit about pesticide-free spider management to begin with here. So removal of spiders, webs, and their egg sacs is a very good way to do it. Now on the exterior, the way I like to do it is to use this instrument is called the Webster. It's just a rounded brush that works very good with kind of stiff bristles. And it works very well as far as knocking down the webs, the egg sacs, and also the webbing and the spider itself. So it works real well, and this one is pretty well used. So something that I'll do with my services that I do for my clients is I'll take this outside and go up underneath the soffit area, and also up against the areas where the exterior wall meets the roof area. That's where they are, and also where the lights are on the exterior of the building, because spiders like to be opportunists, and they will they'll build their nests around those areas also. So this works very well for that. The reason it works well is because if they're going to build those webs there, it takes a lot of energy for them to build that web. So if you're out there harassing, knocking those down every other day or once a week, they're expending a lot of energy just to catch a few insects. So if they're doing that, they're pretty much going to either perish or they're going to move away from that area. Just pretty much, hey, is this worth a couple of insects? Almost killing myself building this web. So anyway, another thing that will help out also is these little glue boards here. Any areas that you can put those in, and hiding places that spiders are in. This works very good too. These glue boards, these flat glue boards, just laying them down, there's multiple different kinds of glue boards that you can use, but these stick those spiders and they will get caught in that pretty easy because of their small spindly legs. Yes, they get caught in that, and they'll sometimes lose a leg or two if they've gone around there before their body falls down into it. But these work very well for many different types of spiders. Second thing is to reduce your outdoor and indoor lights that attract insects. So spiders are opportunists, and they will know or figure out where the insects are going, and usually that's around a lit area, especially at night. So around windows, you'll see a lot of webbing. Also on your porch lights or your security lights on the exterior, any lighting like that, they will get around and you'll see the webbing there about every time. You'll see, if you look at the web, you'll see many night flyers or small flying insects that will get in those webs, and that's why they build them, so that they can have a pretty easy meal. So a couple of the things you can use is lower wattage bulbs, sodium vapor bulbs. Yellow lights also will attract fewer insects. So that's a few things that you can use for your lighting, or just keep them out, just turn them off at night. Also another way to help with spiders is to keep spiders from entering, so exclude the spiders. So make sure your screens are in good shape, Make sure around the windows and your door entryways that you have them well sealed where you can't see daylight, where they can come in and out. Also, your siding around those areas, also make sure that that's well sealed. That'll help immensely with your spiders coming into your house. Also, remove insect and spider hiding places on the exterior of your house. If you've got a wood pile on the outside that's right near your house or right up against the house, that's you're just asking for mice issues, insect issues, and of course spider issues. They'll build their webs right in those areas. Also, noticed if you have a hose outside that's connected to a spigot. Also, that's an area, if you haven't used that for a while, you'll see spider webbing coming down because of the moisture sometimes. So that's another thing, but keep that clutter away from the house. Another thing to remember is vegetation against the house. So your bushes and long grass, keep that away from the house. 24 to 36 inches usually helps a lot as far as keeping that down without the spider coming against the wall or the wall of your house and then going back to the bush back and forth. That helps out a lot. And then on your inside, make sure you're removing insect and spider hiding places. It's pretty hard to do if you have a basement where you keep a lot of the storage, or in the attic, or in your garage. But in your living space, try to take care of that as far as keeping things, away from the walls and the corners of your house and everywhere. As far as keeping those places as clean as you can and as clutter-free as you can. On that note, also remember, if you're going to go into an attic, a basement, a garage area, or a closet, and you haven't moved those items for a while, I highly recommend wearing some gloves, some thicker gloves, because of the next item I'm going to talk about, which is the brown recluse spider. We have a good picture down here of a brown recluse spider. As you see here, it's about as big around as a quarter is what it is. That's not actual size, a little bit bigger. And then also, they're called a fiddleback spider for a reason. You can see the little violin shape right here, right around the head area, right behind the eyes section right there is where that fiddleback section is. And like I said, big around as a quarter. They're a tannish brown color. There's two reasons why here in Iowa we have those, but two of the reasons why we get a lot of calls for them, pest control people get a lot of calls for them. I think just about any spider that they see, a lot of times in Iowa, is a brown recluse spider, because there's been so much talk about brown recluses and their bite. And the second reason is, and more importantly, is that many physicians diagnose a brown recluse bite on the basis of a skin necrosis, not on the identification of the spider. So in other words, if a patient has a small ulcerated skin wound, then many physicians will assume it was caused by a brown recluse spider bite, especially if the patient suggests that. In most cases, they will be wrong. For the record, it is virtually impossible for a physician to look at a necrotic skin ulcer and tell if it was caused by a brown recluse spider. So yes, this has gotten much better in the last few years. I think doctors are becoming more informed about this and doing a much better job at looking at the, a necrotic wound and figuring that out. So let's talk about the brown recluse again for a little bit here. Again, it was called a fiddleback spider, and it is of medical importance because of that bite. It can cause severe skin injuries, and most bites, though, are self-healing. Remember that. But they are rare, and it's rare to have a bite that results in that rotting flesh or the necrotic wound also. And just remember this also, the brown recluse spider rarely bites, so they're not ones to bite unless you encounter them and you're invading their area. And that's why I say to wear those thicker gloves when you're moving things from areas that you haven't touched for a while. You're going to possibly set up shop there. They're called a recluse spider, brown recluse, for a reason. They're reclusive, and that's why I say wear those gloves when you're picking up stuff in those areas. Number 2 is the yellow sac spider. So yellow sac spider kind of got a bad rap there for a while, saying that it was of medical importance also, but they've got that yellowish brown color. They're a little bit smaller than a quarter, but you'll see these in your house every once in a while, and just best to get those with a vacuum if you can. They will bite, and they can be very painful, like a bee sting, but the symptoms are mild, and they usually are self-healing, so you don't have to really be too concerned about the yellow sac spider. The next one is the wolf spider. Now this is the one we see, and the one that's usually the most stoutest or the biggest in Iowa. They're sometimes can get as big around as a 50-cent piece. Some people say, you know, had a spider in here so big I could almost ride it the other day. But you usually see these mostly in the fall when they get pretty good size. They can bite, but most of the pain from that bite is from the fang puncture. It's not venom toxicity. It's not from that. It's from that puncture wound. And that's most. And the other thing about the wolf spider is that it is most likely to pick up insecticide, since it's an active hunter. It's on the ground, and they're going to be around and they'll pick up that insecticide or pesticide that's on the ground. Funnel web spider, they're about the same size but skinnier than that wolf spider. So they usually hang around in barns, and they usually tell them mainly by their webs. They're usually in barn areas, around the exterior of houses. Sometimes they'll be around light areas where you have exterior lighting. And like I said, that funnel webs is very, very noticeable, especially when you have like a dewy day. You'll look outside, and maybe against your side of your house or something, or around that area or the garage, you'll see all these little spider webs that are down on the ground, and they have that funnel shape. Really accentuates that dew does. So, next one's a cellar spider. He's only about as big around as a dime, and they are very spindly looking. They have the long legs and the smaller body, but they like to build the webs in the basement areas, usually in garages, sometimes in attics also. Good thing about that spider is that their fangs are too short to bite through your skin, so they're really not an issue as far as medical importance or anything like that, but they're just kind of creepy looking because they're so small and they're so numerous usually. The next one is the woodlouse spider, and this one is kind of if you look at it, you're kind of step back and you think, oh my gosh, that's a reddish brown spider that's about as big as a dime, maybe a little bit bigger than a dime. And they're called a woodlouse spider for a reason. They usually eat pill bugs, or the roly-polies, as most people call them. But they'll eat those. That's their main meal. They can bite if you pick one up and you're kind of aggressive toward it. It's a mild pain after their bite, again, due to their fang puncture, not the toxicity of their venom. But yeah, that one right there, we get some calls from them also every once in a while. But they're pretty much harmless. Then, of course, the jumping spider, which is usually around a windowsill or sometimes on the floor area. They're called a jumping spider because that's just what they do with it. They're very small. They're dime size or smaller. They're smaller than dime size. But they usually are jumping around, and they kind of mimic what you're doing. They'll move one way that you're moving or whatever, and people will get kind of freaked out by that because they think they're coming after them. But no, they're just mimicking you more or less, or that's what their habit is. They can bite, but they have a mild venom also. And the two that we don't have in Iowa, the tarantula, we do not have that in Iowa whatsoever. They're the big hairy spider, of course, that people keep as pets. We do not have those in Iowa, or they're not native to Iowa. We have them, of course, in cages, or people have them as pets. And the black widow spider, that's not native to Iowa either. They're usually around southern Missouri, southern Illinois areas, but we don't have them up here as far as being native. That's not saying you're not going to see one if it's brought in something that came from the south or something like that, but that's pretty much it. A couple of places I get my information from, so I'm just not, I'm not just spouting stuff, is the Urban Spider book by PCT. That's Pest Control Technician magazine. That's by Stoy Hedges, who's had numerous accolades and was with Terminix for numerous years. Also, the Tech Letter is another very fine publication that comes. for pest control people, but it has a lot of useful information in it. So anyway, we'll probably have another video in a couple of weeks, and if you have any suggestions on what I should talk about, you can always do that on my Facebook page at aplusqualitypestcontrol.com, or excuse me, A Plus Quality Pest Control on Facebook. I also have that website, thewendisa.com. But yeah, I look forward to any information or any feedback that you have for me, and any questions. And if you do have any questions, you can always give me a call. Again, Kent Smith at A Plus Quality Pest Control, 641-660-4475. Again, 641-660-4475, and I'll be happy to help you out, or if you got an issue at your house or your business, I'll be gladly help you out. So thank you very much. Have a great day.